The chair, once a place of rest, becomes a subtle adversary after 60. This isn't about laziness, it's about a fundamental shift in human biology. The body's legendary capacity for forgiveness, its ability to bounce back from indulgences and inactivity, begins to fade. What was once a minor metabolic inconvenience transforms into a critical physiological threat. The machinery of life, finely tuned for movement across millennia, starts to rust when left still for too long, and after 6 decades, that rust spreads with alarming speed. This decline is rooted in natural, age-related changes. Muscle mass, the body's metabolic engine room, diminishes in a process called sarcopenia. Circulation becomes less efficient, with blood vessels losing some elasticity. Perhaps most critically, cells grow more resistant to insulin, the hormone that ushers glucose from the bloodstream for energy. These processes are inevitable to a degree, but prolonged sitting acts as a potent accelerant, pouring fuel on a smoldering fire. When you sit for hours, the large muscles of your legs and back, your body's primary glucose disposal units, switch off. They enter a state of metabolic idleness, ceasing to burn fuel and consequently ceasing to call for more. The consequences are profound and operate on a level deeper than traditional health metrics. With muscles disengaged, blood sugar lingers in the bloodstream, prompting the pancreas to pump out more insulin. Over time, this cycle worsens insulin resistance, quietly paving a path toward type 2 diabetes. Simultaneously, the metabolism of dietary fats slows to a crawl. Lipids circulate longer, embedding themselves in vessel walls and contributing to arterial stiffness, a process independent of cholesterol numbers. Furthermore, sedentary muscle tissue secretes inflammatory proteins, creating a state of chronic, low-grade inflammation that damages tissues and is linked to a host of age-related diseases. This is the insidious reality of prolonged sitting after 60. It systematically undermines the very systems that keep you healthy, not with a dramatic crash, but with a silent, steady decay. The body no longer forgives the stillness it once tolerated. A common and dangerous illusion comforts many seniors, the belief that a dedicated daily workout inoculates them against the harms of a sedentary day. This is the actively sedentary trap, a phenomenon where regular exercise fails to counteract the physiological shutdown caused by long, uninterrupted sitting bouts. An hour at the gym or a brisk morning walk, while immensely beneficial, is metabolically erased by 8 hours of chair-bound stillness. For the aging body, these are not opposing forces that balance out. They are separate pathways, and the damage from prolonged inertia operates independently. The mechanism is biochemical. Sitting for more than 30 to 45 minutes signals muscles to deactivate a key enzyme called lipoprotein lipase, which is crucial for breaking down fats in the bloodstream. This enzyme shutdown is rapid and profound. Even in someone who exercises regularly, this metabolic silence during long sitting periods allows triglycerides to rise and HDL, the good cholesterol, to fall, directly increasing cardiovascular risk. Muscle protein synthesis, the process of building and repairing tissue, also plummets during extended sitting, accelerating age-related muscle loss beyond what exercise alone can prevent. The linked risks are severe and multifaceted. Research shows that prolonged daily sitting independently elevates the risk for cardiovascular events and type 2 diabetes, regardless of fitness level. It hastens sarcopenia, undermining the strength gained in workouts. Perhaps most alarming is its association with cognitive decline. Reduced cerebral blood flow during sedentary periods may starve the brain of oxygen and nutrients, impacting memory and executive function. This trap is particularly misleading for seniors who rightly pride themselves on maintaining an exercise routine, unaware that their lengthy post-workout stillness is systematically undoing those very benefits, quietly compounding risk in the shadows of their otherwise healthy habits. Beneath the quiet surface of a sedentary day, a slow-motion crisis unfolds within the body's most vital systems, the cardiovascular network and the brain. Prolonged sitting does not merely idle the muscles, it fundamentally alters the flow of life itself, the blood. In a seated position, Gravity and lack of muscular contraction allow blood to pool in the legs and lower extremities. The great circulatory pump, the heart, receives less venous return, and the entire system slows to a sluggish crawl. This isn't just about comfort. It is a state of reduced perfusion, where oxygen and nutrient delivery to every organ diminishes. For the cardiovascular system, this stagnation has dire consequences. The delicate endothelial lining of the arteries, which relies on the sheer stress of brisk, pulsatile blood flow to stay healthy and flexible, instead experiences abnormal, turbulent patterns. Over hours, this contributes to arterial stiffening and dysfunction, a precursor to hypertension and atherosclerosis. The body's sophisticated blood pressure regulation, which uses constant muscular feedback, grows lazy and imprecise. The result is a silent, creeping strain on the heart, which must work harder against increased vascular resistance, all while being underfilled, a perfect, invisible storm for heart failure and stroke risk. This circulatory languor reaches the command center, the brain. Reduced cardiac output and pooled blood mean less fresh, oxygen-rich blood reaches the cerebral tissues. The brain, a voracious consumer of oxygen and glucose, begins to starve. Studies link prolonged sitting to decreased perfusion in key regions like the hippocampus, the seat of memory formation and retrieval. This chronic, low-grade oxygen debt is now connected to measurable declines in cognitive function, slower processing speeds, and an increased vulnerability to dementia. The brain thrives on rich, dynamic blood flow. Sitting suffocates it by degrees. Movement, in contrast, sends signals of engagement and adaptation. Each muscle contraction acts as a secondary heart, squeezing blood back toward the core. This boosts circulation, bathes the endothelium in healthy shear stress, and floods the brain with oxygen, triggering the release of neurotrophic factors that support neuron health and growth. Inactivity sends the opposite signal, a command to conserve, to downregulate, to decay. The threat to heart and mind is not one of dramatic failure, but of gradual, silent deprivation, where the simple act of remaining still systematically undermines the very flows that sustain thought and life. Given its profound impact, why is prolonged sitting so rarely addressed in the doctor's office? The oversight stems from medicine's inherent reliance on what can be measured and treated with tangible interventions. Sitting leaves no direct trace on standard lab panels. No blood test reveals sedentary toxicity. It doesn't elevate a specific biomarker like cholesterol or glucose in a fasted state, and it cannot be corrected with a prescription pill. To a system designed to diagnose and medicate, this pervasive risk factor remains invisible, hiding in plain sight. Furthermore, the solution seems deceptively simple, even trivial, compared to complex pharmaceutical regimens or surgical procedures. In a clinical environment focused on managing disease, the foundational power of habitual movement patterns is easily overshadowed by more acute concerns. A physician, pressed for time, will rightly address a patient's high blood pressure reading or elevated A1C, clear, quantifiable dangers with established drug protocols. The subtle, cumulative damage wrought by 6 hours of daily stillness lacks that immediate, numerical urgency. This creates a critical blind spot. The metabolic shutdown, vascular stagnation, and neural deprivation detailed in earlier chapters operate on a physiological plane that standard metrics often miss until significant damage has accrued. Health after 60 is profoundly shaped by these daily patterns of inactivity, yet they are seldom part of the health conversation. The prescription for movement is overlooked not because it is ineffective, but because it is fundamental, requiring a shift in awareness rather than a pill. It is the medicine that exists between appointments, in the very rhythm of daily life, waiting to be recognized and administered by the patient themselves. The solution is not a grueling new exercise regimen. It is a fundamental shift in perspective, movement as a signal, not a workout. After 60, health is sustained not by intensity, but by consistency, by sending gentle, frequent prompts to the body's dormant systems. The powerful medicine lies in micro-interruptions, brief, simple breaks that shatter the dangerous spell of prolonged sitting. The core principle is elegantly straightforward. Avoid remaining seated for more than 30 to 45 minutes at a time. Set a gentle timer as a reminder. When it chimes, the prescription is simple. Stand up. Walk to the kitchen for a glass of water. Pace slowly during a phone call. Perform a few gentle calf raises while waiting for the kettle to boil. During television commercials, march in place or do slow, deliberate stretches for the shoulders and back. These are not exercises, they are vital physiological signals. Each micro-interruption, however modest, acts as a system reset. Standing reactivates the leg muscles, triggering them to resume their metabolic duties, clearing glucose and fats from the bloodstream. A short walk boosts circulation, acting as a pump to relieve pooled blood and deliver fresh oxygen to the heart and brain. Gentle movement breaks the cycle of inflammatory signals from stagnant tissue. This is the essence of the signal. It tells the body's regulatory systems to re-engage, to adapt, to maintain. It reverses the silent shutdown described in earlier chapters, not through strain, but through mindful rhythm. This is the overlooked, profoundly accessible prescription for vitality after 60, turning the simple act of standing into a powerful defense. Therefore, the single, transformative takeaway is this: avoid sitting for more than 45 consecutive minutes. This simple rule encapsulates the entire philosophy. Health after 60 is forged not in intense, sporadic efforts, but through consistent, mindful awareness woven into the fabric of your day. It is about listening to your body's need for rhythm and responding with gentle, frequent signals of life. Make this your new non-negotiable habit. Let it become as automatic as breathing. Your vitality depends not on the gym, but on the quiet rebellion against prolonged stillness. Now, reflect. How many hours do you typically sit each day? Share your thoughts below. For more simple, unexpected strategies to nurture your health, subscribe and join our community.